There's been a lot of talk about the runaway theatrical success that is suburban dinosaur movie, The End of Oak Street, and in particular the influence of 80s movies like E.T. and early 90s movies like Jurassic Park, of course. But what people aren't talking about is the original influence for both The End of Oak Street and Jurassic Park, something that came well before either of them, and that is the 1988 Topps trading card set, Dinosaurs Attack. So Dinosaurs Attack was remarkably different to your average baseball card or football card or basketball card or any trading card for that matter. Wasn't released here in Australia, but I used to read about it in the hallowed pages of Fangoria and Starlog. So Dinosaurs Attack was a 55 card set with, I believe, 11 stickers. Came in those cool little wax paper packs that we all remember from back in the day. 5 cards, a sticker, and a stick of gum. For those of you too young to remember, trading cards always came in a pack with a stick of gum, whether they were football cards or baseball cards, basketball cards, and these Topps cards were no different. So Dinosaurs Attack appeared on the scene in the United States in 1988. Well beneath the radar, kind of had the same morbid appeal as the EC horror comics of the 50s, and essentially the theme of this collection was that scientists had actually accidentally opened up a ripple in time, bringing hordes and hordes of Jurassic beasts into the modern world to cause chaos and carnage. Now, they were very cool cards. I missed them at the time. I always wanted them at the time. They were a bit of a holy grail. But this was well and truly before the days of international mail order. And in modern digital time, it was eons. The time of 1988, before eBay and online ordering and things like that, and genuine online collectors communities. So the best I got at the time was seeing these cards in Fangoria or Starlog as a 13 or 14 year old. But they were very unique in nature. Dinosaurs Attack, the trading card set, was inspired, I guess you'd say, itself by the Mars Attack cards, which I believe were released by Topps in the late 60s or early 70s. And of course, that trading card collection was adapted by director Tim Burton as the theatrical feature Mars Attacks, which was quite creative in its own right. And Dinosaurs Attack featured the same sort of gallows humour as we saw in EC comics. Same sort of gallows humour we saw in other Topps collector's cards, like Garbage Pail Kids, for example. Each card kind of pulled the story along in its own darkly comical way. Each card was a highlight of morbid horror, circa 50s style or circa 50s and 60s style art, and also featured information on the back, quite often newspaper type stories covering what was going on in the card, There were dinosaurs ravaging weddings. There were dinosaurs squashing puppies. Dinosaurs flattening armies. Dinosaurs attacking the Leaning Tower of Pisa. And all that sort of good stuff. That was tailor-made for 12 and 13-year-olds who were into dinosaurs and horror, monsters and science fiction. So it was only natural that Dinosaurs Attack was going to be a runaway success in the world of trading cards, and still has its fans today. So arguably Dinosaurs Attack is more of an influence on the end of Oak Street than Jurassic Park or the Jurassic Park sequels or the Jurassic World sequels. And I'd even argue that Dinosaurs Attack influenced Jurassic Park more than Steven Spielberg or Michael Crichton had cared to admit. The end of Oak Street shares that same kind of gallows humour. This movie seems to be quite divisive. People are either loving it or hating it. But the strange thing is that the people that have their individual gripes really do seem to have their individual gripes. Everyone's finding another reason or a reason of their own to dislike this movie. And I guess the only real explanation for that is that cinema's in such a state of disrepair that when something comes along theatrically that's somewhat original and better than expected, more fun than expected, and doesn't have a lot of substance, but doesn't have a lot of substance in a good way, that it can be, that it can really be critiqued, people are going to become confused because good enough isn't good enough anymore, and they're going to find a reason to hate something. Some of the more odd critiques I've heard of the end of Oak Street, one particular critic, I think it was on Kermode and Mayo, had an issue with kids running around in the 80s with bows and arrows, and said that wasn't realistic at all. But as a kid who grew up in Australia, all I can say is that was a fairly common sight to see kids with bows and arrows or BB guns or slingshots. Any kind of childhood improvised weapon that felt dangerous and forbidden. That was quite a common thing to see in the 80s. So that's just one example of some of the more ridiculous criticisms being levelled at this movie. But be that as it may, this video is mainly about the influence of Dinosaurs Attack upon not only the end of Oak Street, but also Jurassic Park and everything that followed. It really is the prototype for dinosaurs and man being thrust together in a darkly comical way, in that gallows humour fashion. I mean, the lawyer in Jurassic Park, for example, being chomped on by a T-Rex as he sits on a toilet, is really does look like something straight out of Dinosaurs Attack cards. And I'll leave a link to, fortunately in the age of the internet, I've been able to check out these cards in all their glory online, and I'll leave a link to a website below in the comments and in the description so that you can see just how amazing these cards were, especially for their time, especially for pre-teens, for 12 and 13-year-olds at the time. And they probably shaped the sense of humour of a lot of people who'd later grow up to make their own monster movies. So I'll leave a link to the full collection of cards that you can see on PDF in the description and the comments. They're really quite cool. As you can see, they're really quite creative. If you care to click on the link and have a look. I love the pseudo news stories about what's happening. A lot of the cards are incredibly random in such a way that occurred decades before that kind of humour became more popular, and it was certainly an outsider kind of humour at the time. For example, there's one card where the dinosaurs are attacking a hard rock or heavy metal concert, and these dinosaurs aren't actually carnivores, they're herbivores, and they're tearing out the hair of the rock stars on stage because they've mistaken their hair for the kind of primitive plants that they used to eat in the past. So essentially you've got these brontosauruses and so forth scalping these rock stars. So that's an indicator of the kind of humour that could be found on Dinosaurs Attack cards. So these are well worth checking out if you're feeling nostalgic, and especially if you grew up here in Australia, heard about these cards but were never able to find them. They were never for sale here in Australia. I'm not entirely sure why that was. Perhaps it was something to do with censorship. We did have draconian censorship at the time here in Australia, especially in Queensland. The Midas Touch, the gold standard when you were renting a video at the local video store back in the 80s, was keeping an eye out for those fabled Banned in Queensland stickers that adorned the most subversive home video releases. And I'm still not entirely sure if they ever were actually banned in Queensland. Perhaps it was the most clever marketing ploy of all time. But I do know that Sir Joe Bjelke-Peterson was quite the dictator. Some people say that was those were better days. Some people say it was awful. I'll let you Queenslanders decide. But at any rate, Australia was a different place during that time, and it wouldn't surprise me if these Dinosaurs Attack cards were banned here for that reason. Or perhaps the answer is as simple enough as they were just simply never distributed here. Either way, I'm guessing they'll probably make a resurgence as Hollywood and all kinds of entertainment companies, publishers and so on and so forth look for ways to cash in on the runaway success of The End of Oak Street. If you haven't seen it yet, The End of Oak Street is an incredibly fun movie. Just check your brain at the door. None of it makes a great deal of sense, but it really doesn't need to. If you go into this one with the eyes, the perspective, the spirit of a 13-year-old in 1984, 85, 86 or 87, you'll have a whale of a time with it. It's not really trying to change the world, not trying to browbeat you in any fashion, which is always refreshing, and primarily it is quite refreshing in that the filmmakers seem to have considered the act of entertaining the audience the primary factor, rather than trying to propagandise them or teach them something, or be self-aggrandising or wallow in artistic pretension. So that's about all I've got on Dinosaurs Attack cards and their influence on not only The End of Oak Street but also Jurassic Park. And as I said, I'll leave a link in the description and in the comments so you can check out the trading card series in all of its glory and see what you missed out on in 1988 if you're of my vintage. And if you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. You can always like, share and subscribe, or not. And if you have any memories of Dinosaurs Attack, if you're from the United States or Canada, primarily where these cards were sold back in the day, you're more than welcome to share any memories that you have that this video has hopefully stirred up in your grey matter, where you first saw them, where you bought them, what your parents thought of them. Did they try and burn them? Let us know in the comments. Otherwise, that's about all I have, so I'm off to enjoy the rest of my day. Hope you do as well. And until next time, take it very easy.